So when Adam and Eve sinned, they actually gave their authority to rule over the earth, which had been given to them by God. They gave that authority to the devil. The devil tricked them and got them to fall into his trap, but nevertheless, they gave their authority to the devil, and he had the authority at that time to rule over the earth and have dominion as God had set it up with Adam and Eve. So let me just take a quick minute and review where we've been so far. Okay, so God created the heavens and the earth. He created the earth with a garden called Eden on it, and he put Adam and Eve in the garden. The devil and the other angels that he had dragged down with him in his battle against God had already been cast down to earth at that time. But God put a special tree in the garden called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and he told Adam and Eve, all the other trees in this garden you can enjoy and eat from, but you may not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That's super important because it gave Adam and Eve a choice. They could either choose to obey or not. All right. The devil got them to disobey God. He tricked them. They fell into his trap. That is true. But nevertheless, they made the choice. They're the ones who did it. Whether or not the devil tricked them or not, it's still their choice to do that. So when they made that choice, which Christians refer to as original sin, the authority to rule over the planet, which God had fully given to Adam and Eve, was then transferred to the devil. So the devil had the authority at that time to rule over the earth. Okay. Now, we can see where that goes based on the Bible's description of the days of Noah. Because after however long of a period of time that was, from Adam and Eve to the days of Noah, with the devil ruling over the earth, the Bible describes it as all the thoughts and intentions of the heart of mankind were evil all the time. So the devil had succeeded in just bending the whole place toward evil. That's when God decided, I'm going to hit the reset button and we're going to start this whole thing over. And he had Noah build an ark and, the whole flood story. That's because of what the devil had done for all those centuries, however long it had been, in turning the place into just a world of total evil. As a little bit of a side note, there's an interesting thing in Genesis 6 where it talks about the Nephilim. And if you've done any research or heard any things about giants and a lot of the mythology that's out there, it's not mythology in the sense of fake stories, but of legends that probably are more true than what we really realize at times. If you look into it, there's definitely discoveries that have been made and since covered up and all that stuff about supersized humans and giants and all that kind of stuff. Well, the Bible talks a little bit about that in Genesis 6, and that is because some of those fallen angels began to look upon the daughters of men as attractive and actually interbred with them. So the fallen angels, as I said at the very beginning, I think I said this in one of the first videos, we tend to think of it as angels and demons, kind of the good team and the bad team. That's overly simplistic. God created all kinds of different creatures and interdimensional beings and a whole array of things that I think we're going to probably learn a lot more about in the future, but we have a limited knowledge of it right now. But a lot of those beings that had rebelled against God then interbred with the humans and created these kind of superhumans and demigods and stuff and the giants and all this. And I don't want to get too far off track with all of that, but it really explains a lot of some of the crazier archaeological stuff that's out there when you start to understand everything that the Bible has to say about this stuff. But these humans were bred with the fallen angels, the demons, and like I said, that's a little too simplistic, but the fallen interdimensional beings, and it created this environment of intense evil. A lot of, just like the Bible says, the thoughts and intentions of their heart were only evil all the time, you know. So, if you care to accept it, here's where we arrive at a description of why there is evil in the world to such an extent, supposedly with a loving creator at the same time. Evil exists because of sin. Sin exists because of choice. The choice that we have all made to distrust our creator and go our own way. Choice exists because of free will, and free will exists because God set it up that way. So, the analogy that I would like to give you, and hopefully this will work for some of you, is of a tree with leaves on it, and a leaf falling off that tree is like a human choosing sin and choosing its own way. So, in the distance that leaf travels as it falls off the tree and flutters down is how evil and dark the sin actually gets. Okay? Humans will flutter a certain distance away from the tree as they flutter and fall. And some will fall further than others. The devil is that gale force wind driving those leaves as far from the tree as possible to the point where their humanity is not even recognizable. Okay? Are humans absolved of the evil that they participate in because the devil's a part of it too? No. None of us are absolved of it. But the inspiration for some of the darkest stuff that's out there comes from outside of humanity, and it is not coming from God. Do you know what adrenochrome is? If you do not know what adrenochrome is, I'm not going to be the one to explain it to you. But like I said, some of the darkest stuff that's out there, which I don't know what's darker and more evil than that, is inspired by something outside of humanity. I honestly don't think humans would have figured out adrenochrome on their own without some outside, maybe higher intelligence that's maleficent and evil as all get out, inspiring them to do these things. That relative or person who violated you and stole your innocence is absolutely accountable for what they did. But I can tell you, there was something driving them to it. Their own sin for one thing, but something else evil as well. That person who got in the car after 10 or 12 beers or however much and drove and ran over that child is absolutely accountable for what they did. But there are spiritual forces driving people to do that kind of stuff all the time. Are they absolved of the evil that they've participated in? No, not at all. But there is something behind it as well that's driving people to do that, to whisper into their ear, that's whispering to them and saying, do this, here's an idea, let's do this, all that kind of stuff. It's real. You can't have an accurate understanding of why there is evil in the world today, especially to the extent that there is, without understanding that there is a spiritual dimension, a very real spiritual dimension with very evil actors in it, driving people to do things that I don't think they otherwise would. So, stick with it. Stick with me on this little series because I'm going to do probably just one or two more videos about God's solution to all of this. All right. And like I said in one of the earlier videos, I don't think it's a huge philosophical dilemma that we have to figure out. We just have to know how this all went down and who the characters are that are involved in this. And we have to recognize the reality that we are in a spiritual battle. The spiritual realm around us is every bit as real as this. It's every bit as real as the physical things around us. We don't always understand that and realize that, but it is absolutely real. And I think more and more people are understanding that because there's just certain things out there that are hard to deny. And one of them, I think we have to recognize, is the problem of evil. If anything points to the realities of a dark spiritual interplay between interdimensional beings and us, it's some of the evil that's going on in the world. It goes beyond people who just become greedy and selfish. It's way beyond that. So, we'll see you on the next one.